Okay, so this question asks what question we can ask in order to determine if we're likely to achieve our desired result. So ultimately, this is just asking what's a good question for me to ask to determine if I'm going to be able to achieve my goal or not. So this is an evaluate the plan argument. So I'm going to label that with EP. And we want to make sure that we're asking the right questions. Let's first start with our argument and what we are trying to achieve. So what this is saying is that there are tidal waves caused by earthquakes. These tidal waves will come in and destroy cities. But if we put in seismic plates, we'll be able to give these towns and cities a bit of notice so that they can evacuate, thereby saving lives. So seismic waves, or seismic plates, seismic plates, and enough notice will lead to saved lives. And this is our big focus. We need to accomplish this. If I wanted to, I could start with some assumptions or just brainstorm some things that I would think would be important. One thing that I would probably right off the bat think about is the timing of things. If I give people only 2 minutes notice before a tidal wave hits, that might not be enough time for them to actually evacuate. But if I'm going to give them, 3 hours, that might be more impactful and I might be able to save lives. The other thing that I might be able to consider in being able to accomplish this is that the communication actually does work. If I have problems with that, if I don't have, for example, a station to receive that information, that could potentially create an issue in my plan. So I've got some ideas to go off of, and now I'll start looking at my answer choices. And as I go through these, I really like to consider some different outcomes and then ask, does this impact my goal or not? So in the first one with A, we're asked, or the question that's posed is, when was the last time that there was a threat? So I might kind of go in a few different directions. I might say that there's a threat that was 1 day ago versus a threat that was 1 week ago, or maybe 1 year ago. Let's make it longer. In either case, it really doesn't make a difference because it doesn't help me determine if I'm going to be able to save lives using this method. So A doesn't give me any insight, it's irrelevant. With B basically asks, how deep would these seismic plates need to be located? And again, I could kind of take it in two different directions. I could say maybe it only needs to be 2 feet down versus 1,000. But again, how deep these need to be really doesn't have any impact on whether this will save lives. It's maybe more of like a logistical question. So that one is also irrelevant. C asks if I'm going to have enough time. So this is more of like a yes or no split. So yes, I have enough time. Well, great. That means that I'm going to be able to save more lives. If no, there's not enough time to evacuate, my plan is actually going to fail. So because I get a clear split, a direction of yes, the plan will work, or no, the plan is not going to work, this is going to be a good candidate. So I'm just going to earmark that, put a little check to say this looks good. D asks about how soon some of these communities could return after the tidal wave actually happens. This question really has no impact on whether or not I'm going to be able to evacuate, since this really deals with everything after the damage has happened. So I'm going to go ahead and not even bother with it and just say that it's irrelevant. And with E, it asks, can the stations be equipped to collect and relay info about other things other than simply the tidal waves? So maybe it would give me information about, rainfall or how much damage I could expect. This really isn't going to give me a clear direction either about whether or not it's going to be an effective solution. Um, if I say yes, this will tell me about other things. It really doesn't help me determine if I'm going to save lives or not. And that's, again, my ultimate goal. So E is also irrelevant, and I'm left with my correct answer C.